Bluegrass country. Right now.
It's really that's what the
yeah.
That was
That's the only one that I
And the public record.
we have one person that
Raise the water table.
we're way beyond. And most of it. We're just trying to you put up get stuck.
I have to sign in there. Yeah, I'll just then I can share this.
Very
yeah, okay. And then
Oh, they just picked out.
Yeah.
Russian.
You have to wait for a short time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yourself.
We're going to, do we have a?
I was suspecting.
Yeah.
I think it's important.
Okay. Okay, perfect. All right. We're going to, out of respect for everybody's time, we are going to get started. I know that we have a couple of my fellow commissioners that are still over at a hearing that I left early so I can get here. But with that, they can get caught up to speed when they get here. So welcome, everybody. Thank you for taking time to be in attendance today and participating in our August 15th, 2023 Link Transit Board meeting. I would like to, number one, I'd like to make sure that everybody has had an opportunity to read today's agenda. And assuming that you have and you agree with the agenda, I would seek a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Move to approve the agenda as presented.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. All right, and then as we do each meeting, this would be the appropriate time based upon the agenda items. If any one of our board of directors feels like they may have a conflict of interest with any of the items on today's agenda, now would be the appropriate time to state that potential conflict. Hearing and seeing none, we will move on. Public comments. Comments will be heard and are limited to 3 minutes per person. So if you would like to address the board, now would be the appropriate time to simply state your name and the county in which you reside.
And just point of order, this is not the public hearing.
Correct. Yes. Yes, ma'am.
I think I'm the only one. Is there a microphone or just talk loud?
Just talk loud to they're here.
Just talk loud. I'm Melissa, I'm from Pashaston, and I'm representing the Pashaston Community Council. We're trying to take on the ginormous task of the Pashaston Bridge. We're trying to get some stakeholders together to help us and guide us and to what we need to do. We're not asking for money, we're asking for guidance and how we can put together a proposal to the government to help us replace the bridge or widen it. So that's why I'm here. If you want to help us out, that would be great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other?
I will. Hi, I'm Juanita Martinez. I'm representing Cheyenne in Douglas County, the homeless, the elderly, and the Link Plusers, I'm going to call it. I was here last month for the meeting, and I wanted to make a donation from CBCH, compliments of CBCH, as they've transported me the last couple of weeks. Since last time I was here, I was reminded that we have 3 minutes. I suggest that we
I like that. There you go.
either each 1 minute, and I had to pick the colors. Roger, he's a wonderful rider for me. But I'd be more than happy to volunteer to keep the minutes to 3 so that, or whoever wants to come up and introduce themselves. But yeah, Cheyenne Douglas County.
Thank you. Anybody else? Is there anybody online? No. Okay. I am not seeing any other. Oh, and we've got written.
So this person is actually here. Sue Kane is here, but she asked me to read this record that she submitted to the board. And this is what she sent in an email. I understand the board is considering not collecting all the tax money that we taxpayers voted on. I do not agree with this proposal. We voters put our trust in you, and I, for one, am very pleased with what Link is doing in our community. While it might be considerate of you to not collect the money, we need our board members to look to the future. As we work to deal with the climate crisis, gas prices will be going up and more people will need public transit. We need our board to plan for the impacts of the climate crisis. Please continue to collect the money that we voted on and use it to prepare for our community's future. P.S. I ride Link occasionally only because I am fortunate to have an electric car. I have seen the number of people that use the Link service to get to and from work. Keep up the good work. Sue Kane. In Douglas County, is that correct? Okay.
Thank you. Any other comments? Hearing and seeing none, we'll close the public comment period and move on with consent agenda. We have our minutes of our July 18th board meeting, as well as our accounts payable and payroll vouchers for July 1st through the 31st. Unless there is anything in particular that the board member would like to pull out, I would seek a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented.
I would make that motion to accept the consent agenda.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. All right, we are going to move into our public hearing. Sam, do you want that up or
Thank you. I'll share the screen and get it pulled up.
All right, so while we're waiting, today's public hearing is Link Transit's 2023 through 2028 Transition Development Plan and our 2022 annual report. And so if you do have a desire to speak specifically on this topic, this is a public hearing. You will be afforded that opportunity. I assume that we have sent around a sign-up sheet. So if you do wish to speak and you haven't signed up on that, just raise your hand. We'll make sure that you have that opportunity. The minutes will be the official record of this public hearing. And so if you're addressing the board, please do state your name and the community in which you live. And only one person at a time may speak. And no debate is allowed. So hopefully that's all understandable. And then the order that I'm going to ask that this go is that staff will be presenting. There will be testimony from anybody in the public wishing to provide testimony. And then I will close the public comment portion, turn it over to the board for discussion and questions and for action. And so with that, see if I missed anything. So I don't think I have. So why don't we start with the staff presentation?
Okay. So thank you, everybody. This is in your board packet. You have this document. It's about 50 pages long, and this is the detailed portion of the transit development plan. So if you want this, what we're doing here is giving an overview of what the transit development plan is and why we need to actually create this plan every year. It's a planning document, and it's a 6-year lookout for the future, and also current budget year, and then our last year, which is 22 financial statements that are under the process of being audited. Not yet. Oh, sorry. Yes.
Just there you go. That one. I think our keyboard is.
If technology wasn't temperamental, it wouldn't be technology.
There we go. Okay, that'll work. So it's a 6-year transit development plan and annual report that required to be submitted to the DOT and to the Chelan Douglas Transportation Council annually to maintain our eligibility for state allocated funding. Discusses Link Transit's current service plan for now and the next 6 years, serves as the agency's implementation program. The 22 annual report, the financial statements, and a review of the project, major equipment, and facility improvements made over the past year. The POP, which is the program of projects, is required for each federal fiscal year to maintain eligibility for the 5307 federal funds that we receive. Okay, so this is just basically the table of contents in the TDP. So it starts out with the description of the service area or operations facilities, state and agency goals, objectives, and action strategies, local performance measures and targets. Section 4 is plan consistency, and it goes into plan capital expenses, plan operating changes, multi-year financial plan. Section 5307 program of projects there's chapter 8, and then the appendixes at the bottom have Link Transit service map, facilities description, owned facilities inventory, owned facilities or rolling stock, owned equipment, owned infrastructure, and unfunded project list, and Link Transit zero emission fleet transition plan. So there's a lot of information in this document. I have to give credit to the planning department. They put a lot of work into redeveloping this and actually making it into more of a strategic plan for us. The big one here is these are our capital projects from 2023 to 2028. Now, some of these have already been completed. So rolling stock and equipment, the 22,585,000. If you want to look and find out what they are, they're on page 19 of your document. And each of these sections should be tied into these numbers with all the vehicles. For like the 22,585,000, we've already received 3 35-foot BYDs, 3 replacement plow trucks. We've got replacement paratransit vehicles. And then going out in the future, we have replacement fixed route vehicles for cutaways, replacement 9 BYDs for 2025, and so on down the list. And the same thing with our operational infrastructure. That's Easy Street Roundabout, the Leavenworth Roundabout, real-time bus signs. And so these are all outlined. This is a summary of what's on pages 19 through 21. Anyone have any questions on those?
This all assumes, Nick, that we're gonna have this 1/10 of 1%.
Correct. This is going forward.
If we don't have it, this doesn't happen.
Things would not happen. I couldn't tell you exactly what they were, but something would have to do adjustments. Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
What is the community art bus stop program?
Paul?
That is a program that we have not completed. It's in the very nascent stages. But one thing we're looking at in this is for all the communities we serve, we're hoping to establish like one specific bus stop. That is, I'm trying to think, like, individual to that specific. Like we work together with the community, for instance, Indiana, Chelan to Shaston, at a stop there to make a kind of like art piece as well that will also be a functional transit stop. So trying to look at the best word to describe that, a very unique shelter that reflects that community in particular. And I think the idea was to do 1 year in the future. We were just thinking about that. I think we had tentatively planned on starting with Chelan, but we haven't even begun discussing yet.
And my thing is that really a necessary expense, or can we just make bus stops and nice amenities and focus on that core instead of fanciful bus stops? I just think it's potentially unnecessary expense.
I understand your question. We like to think that it's a nice way of, it's a marketing tool. It's also, I think it'd be beneficial to the community. It's the question, like, would you guys rather just take out all the statues in Antioch Park and just pave it? It's easier, that kind of.
Well, I'm saying that.
Well, that's kind of, that's.
Anyway, I just.
We have one of it was kind of a partnership with the city of Leavenworth to go down there in front of the Forest Service. There's that big wooden one. So we've with a partnership with the city of Leavenworth to put that in there. They maintain it because they want a specific kind of shelter with the wood, and we didn't want to have to redo the wood. So that's probably something along that order, depending on the community and involvement. But we do kind of like to keep within our current shelter structure because with the replacement glass replacements and things like that make it easier. But this is just one of those steps for marketing to get, to identify the communities, like Paul was saying, like if we did a wrap, like we did the Waterville wrap on the buses and things like that, this kind of identifies a little bit differently. So it's in the planning stages of the marketing department of what they want to do in the future. And
This is not my idea of lean budgeting.
yeah,
Trying to.
well, it's just in the plan, and there's a lot of things in the plan here that are ideas and thoughts that we want to do and go with. Doesn't mean, as with all plans, they change as we go forward. It's not necessarily mean that we're going to do everything, and there's new things that will come up that'll have to take place in some of these things. Right. Yeah.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Nick, if we don't have it listed in here, then it would not potentially qualify for grant funding.
Only for next year, and that's for state grants. Federal grants are different. They don't have to be in there except for the 5307. Formula grant, if we want to, if the state had the consolidated grants come up again, they weren't listed in here, we'd have to go through a process, because what it does is they take this document, we send it to the DOT and the Chelan-Douglas Transportation Council, with Chelan-Douglas, Chelan CDTC transfers the projects to their tip, which goes to the STEM, which needs to be, all big circle, and it's when you get the grants, right? So,
and just for a process, we reserved the board comment part of this after the public comment. We have quite a few folks here that would like to.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay, so planned operating changes for 23 through 28. So service expansion, I won't read through all of them, but service enhancements across the service area, restore appropriate service reductions, East Wenatchee redesign, which we've been really thinking about. Grant Road, Pangbourne Airport has been, people keep asking for that one. Chelan Shuttle Express service, late night service, Fancher Heights expand transportation options program that implement micro transit zones, anticipating planning projects, the bus stop guides, consolidation, amenity priority plan, strategic plan, financial plan, service standards and performance measures, which we have talked about, Wenatchee satellite bus charging assessment, link transit facility design, which we're toe deep into it. I wish we were knee deep, but we're working our way through that. US2 highway rapid bus transit, which we're working on. Zero emission transit plan, in the Cellar Bridge congestion alternative and transit priority study. So those are the things that are in the bucket for the next 6 years to be looked at. And like I say, these are just what we can identify today. It will change over time. And each year, this is kind of a living document. And we want to take this and probably create a strategic plan with a lot of these base projects right here. The next one is the multi-year financial plan. So this is, as you can see, this is all capital improvements. This is the 22, we start year 2022. This is what we actually spent in 2022. So about $2.3 million. The 2023, this is what we had budgeted. And a lot of this stuff we have not completed, nor will we complete. So the 2024 budget, as it stands so far, is about $3.7 million. Big one is revenue vehicles. We have what we've talked a little bit about, looking at some specialty vehicles to go up to Mission Ridge and Waterville, Polo, Big Hills. So we're looking at a special vehicle for that. $850 for the operational. That's the Leavenworth Glacier Park Comfort Station and the East Wenatchee Park and Ride Charger. Those are the two big components out of that one. 2025, the $9.2 million in revenue vehicles. That's the 9 BYDs we've ordered, and they should be here in 2025. They're grant funded about $5.9 million and 2 E-cutaway replacements. Go down the operation infrastructure, and I'm just picking the big ones here. For 2025, $500,000. That's Maiden Lane, Q jumps and kind of the bus stop. If they improve that, it should be 2025, 26, somewhere in that range if they want to improve that stop along there, heading that southbound. And then in the 1.5 million is that's for the Maston Park and Ride up at Leffler Park. I think it's Leffler Park. And so they're looking for, they're going to create a park and ride at the park, and they want us to be a part of that. We don't know if we'll put a charger up there. We don't know what infrastructure is actually going to take place on our side of this. So we just put a placeholder of about 1.5 million in there. Any other questions on the multi-year capital plan here? Yeah.
I have a question.
We'll hold it. There will be, you'll have that opportunity, ma'am.
Program of projects. So this is just, we are required, if we want to get our 5307 grant, to put it in the program of projects, which goes to CDTC and they advertise it to make sure anyone no one has any questions or problems with it. Our federal portion for 2024 is $4.3 million with a local match of $4.3 million for a total of $8.6 million. Next steps is see public comment if we need. Board approval and do any revisions as necessary, and then we hopefully get board approval with it, and then we'll go to send it off to the DOTs and CDTC. And check off that box for this year.
Very good. So do we have any public comment that was written that we need to enter into the record?
We do have a couple. We have some sign-ins as well. Would you like to go with the people that are here first?
Let's do the written first. It goes into the.
Okay. The first letter that was submitted was from Jean. Is it Jean? Is that how you pronounce her name? Poirier. Jeannie Poirier of Kashmir. And she says, wow, you all are so impressive. Figure it isn't fair to comment if you've not read the draft plan. So I did. I absolutely support the development plans presented and am continually impressed and proud of Link. The visioning of bus system operations in a huge area continues to be effective and an absolute role model for any place else in the world. Thank you for free fares. Thank you for the transition to electric vehicles and keeping diesel gas powered where it makes sense. You do a great job of modeling how we as a society need to appreciate fossil fuels where they make sense and to move forward to clean energy wherever possible. Very glad the propane idea did not pan out. Thank you for your thoughtful, thorough, and expansive vision for our communities. Keep up the good work. Yes, looking forward to the park and ride at Hay Canyon, already busier and beautiful bus stops under new Goodwin Bridge. That's Jeannie's. One more.
We like her.
Jeannie likes us. This one is from Andrew Mills, Chelan County. I am Andrew Mills, a frequent Link user and resident at Wenatchee Rescue Mission. I have examined the draft plan and urge that it be adopted. While it contains many provisions, rather than telling Link what to do concerning one provision or another, I want to state my confidence in their decision-making to date. I use the transit system frequently and find it to be extremely dependable. I also find that it serves many unique people in individual situations and is a great kindness to the people of our region. It could easily not be this way. Thankfully, it is well run. It also helps reduce inequality as many riders have few other choices. Therefore, I urge that the draft plan be finalized and the 2024 program of projects be approved with due consideration of other citizens' comments. This system has earned my trust. Those are the two written ones.
Thank you, Selena. All right, with that, we're going to open it up to the floor and online for anybody that wishes to provide public comment specific to the draft in front of us.
Melissa, did you have further comment?
Well, I do.
Okay.
But no, I do.
So
no, it looks great. I'm just the bus stops that are individuals for the neighborhoods is actually a fantastic idea. And it is a wonderful Eagle Scout project. If you're going to do it in a certain town, go to the Boy Scouts, say who needs an Eagle Scout. If you're going to fund it, or they have to go out and find additional funding, that does happen. But then it's there, and it's an Eagle Scout that has helped put it in the neighborhood.
Thank you.
Dino Dapper?
Just to clarify for the record, did you get all of her information so we make sure we have the public testimony properly documented?
Yes, Melissa Reuter from Peshastin. Yeah. Dino Dapper?
Here. Is this 3 minutes?
Each one's 1 minute.
Oh my goodness, that's too complicated. I'm not really a public speaker, so I need to read this. I apologize. My name is Dino Daffer, and I live here in Wenatchee. Even though I'm not a regular bus rider, I am a supporter of Link Transit. I did get a chance to meet several regular riders. Tracy and Sherry Ann Pollard live in Kashmir, and they declare that Link Transit is a lifesaver. And Candy Cook lives in Wenatchee, and she can walk short distances with her cane, but she also can live a normal life because of the transit. As you all know, Link provides essential services for students, shoppers, workers, and those seeking medical help. Link Transit is an integral part of our communities. If you have read the news lately, you will have noted that there are a large number of apartment complexes being built or planned to be built in our areas. Developers from Seattle recognize that our region is a growth area. Any good business needs to look ahead, and I believe that the new 6-year plan positions Link Transit to be ready for this increased growth. Apartment living is one of the growth aspects that I think the 6-year plan can accommodate. Not everyone living in these apartments will own a car. The flexibility in a 6-year plan will help Link provide services for these new apartment dwellers. And then I have one other scenario where I think Link could really help our community. And that's like, listen, you have a family with a husband and a wife and maybe a kid or two, and the husband and wife are both working. You have to make to get by. And so they each have a car. So let's say that Link could make it convenient for one of those persons to be able to go to work on the bus. So that would really, in a lot of cases, eliminate the need for one of those cars. So what does a car cost? Car payments, car insurance, maintenance, gas. I mean, you're looking at probably $400 or $500 a month. So that is where that will make a huge difference with people. $500 a month, on a tight budget. That is really, that's what I hope that Link can do. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other individuals that wish to make public comment? Yes, ma'am.
So again, my name is Juanita Benke, and I represent both Chelan and Douglas County in CBCH. I wanted to ask the question. It was before even starting the meeting. I was looking for the Zoom link for the public to be able to, we can get that. In regards to the shelters, in my background's in finance, why don't we maintain the shelters that we have right now instead of developing big fancy ones as we may picture down the road when needed? But I requested for the disabled and the handicapped a shelter months ago, maybe a year ago. Why don't we have it in our public places? The library where Roger came and got me today to bring me here. There's no access for a walker, a stroller, a bike, a scooter, anything money making for the city. Those little scooters that are just left dead somewhere that someone needs to get by, can't. And that's happened. I requested a shelter of some sort right at the public library. They closed. Link's still running. Link Transit, Columbia Station's closed. You can't go to the bathroom if you need to, whether you're disabled or not. Let's kind of upgrade what we've got now to keep us promoting what we know is a good thing. Yesterday, I was so thankful. We got all kinds of new bus drivers, beautiful, wonderfully trained. And you folks up here that don't see what's going on out there, maybe been a few years, have neglected, I guess, to see what these men do and women. The new drivers, cool, calm, collected, very polite, very well trained. And my background is in also human resource. And the driver that was able to bring me from one destination here yesterday, it was running late. So of course, the fixed routes, as they're properly named, were behind. I was to transfer from one of our low housing places that house hundreds of people, where I was yesterday and I couldn't get out of there with the walker, to get across the street to the bus 9. The tenant that invited me there lifted the walker for me, and I'm going, this is ridiculous. You know, we have all these new stop locations, but no access. I was literally stranded on 9th Street, Apple Blossom weekend, where the city said that the street was open. I get dropped off on the 4 Riverside, get out, construction, wires wrapped around legs. I couldn't go anywhere. The city scooters parked there dead. Walker actually walked me over those railroad tracks to the little mall that I was going to, where an angel of the Lord came and left. But yesterday when all this happened and we were all behind, and we understand how this works. I kind of do. I do this every day for the last 1.5 years or more. But when I got to the lobby, it was 105 degrees outside, and I'm looking everywhere for shade. Maybe put some shade trees out here instead of, you know, more decorative bronze architect along what we have established, which is beautiful. So the lobby, thank God, was open. And I came in, I said, Tina, like, I know this, what are you guys doing open? She said, it's for the care of our community, the heat, she used the word heat. So let's get established what we've done now, get shelters in place now. There's no place even here at Columbia Station that if it's snowing, someone with maybe a mobility issue, a baby with a stroller can have shelter.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're very welcome.
Is there anybody else that in the chambers or online that would wish to make public comment? Seeing and hearing none, I will close the public comment portion of the hearing and turn it over to the board for discussion. Mark?
So for starting that discussion purposes, I'd make a motion that we approve resolution 2023-21, adopting Link Transit's 6-year transit development plan for years 2023-2028, and the annual report for the 2022 year.
I will second that motion.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all of those in favor of the motion as presented?
Aye.
Any opposed or any abstentions? Thank you. Motion passes unanimously. Thanks, staff. Thank you, public. Moving on to our, is Overbay on his way?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I will now close the public hearing. Thank you. Had too many public hearings today.
Aaron's trying to give me some.
Thank you, Aaron. By way of, okay. Now that we've completed that, we're going to move on to our administration and communications. We have some recognitions to take care of. All right. With that, first we're going to recognize one of our longtime coach operators for great dedication to excellence in serving Link Transit for the past 11 years. And so it is my honor, and I hope you'll join me in recognizing Mr. Roger Van Houten. This plaque says in recognition of 11 years of outstanding service presented to Roger Van Houten as the Link Transit Board of Directors, August 15th, 2023. Your commitment and dedication have kept our wheels turning. Thank you for your hard work and contributions to keeping our community moving. Congratulations. Thank you.
Oh, come on. Anyway, you know, I can say a little bit.
How about what do you do after that?
Well, I'm gonna go to Mexico first, anyway. Get out of town. Anyway, for the last like 5 years, I've been doing Link Plus. And I have seen and heard so many people say, hey, I don't know what I do without people out there. And I talked to one last week. He said he's got family in Idaho, and he wanted to move over there. But he looked around when he got there, no Link Plus. You know, and he's disabled. And he's gonna stay here because of the people. Thank you.
Enjoy Mexico, Roger. All right. Next, we're going to ask Lynn to help us recognize one of our star performer awardees.
Hey, so the Star Performer Award is something that happens twice a year. It gives our employees an opportunity to select and nominate their coworkers who demonstrate commitment to Link's philosophy of and principles of guest services, safety, efficiency, innovation, and teamwork. So the winners of this renowned award receive a $75 gift card to a local restaurant. They get a reserved parking space. They get recognized at a Link board meeting, and they also get to represent Link Transit at the annual state conference, be part of what they call the Wall of Fame, which I think is happening tonight. And we have someone there in Vancouver being recognized as well. So Tina Thorpe. Stand up. Tina is one of our reservationists, dispatcher. The nomination, the comments were, Tina demonstrates her commitment to Link's principles of guest service, efficiency, and the value of teamwork by her masterful scheduling of Link Plus rides. Tina reworks the schedule to maximize the coach operator's routing and timing. This makes it more efficient for Link and a better ride for our guests. And I will tell you that Tina was recently out of the office for a period of time. And when people found out that she was coming back, there was actually like a sigh of relief. So she does a great job for us. So we'd like to recognize Tina.
Thank you very much.
Also nominated was Cami Ostrom. She, however, is not here tonight, but I'll read her nominations. Cami is always funny, helpful, and willing to take on any task. She is doing a great job at increasing the number of Link Transit drivers. She has always been very helpful. She's very outgoing and goes out of her way to help others. She's doing a great job with the new classes of drivers that are coming out this year. We did put Cami in charge of operator recruitment, and as you'll hear later, we've had a great success with that. So here's to Cami too. Yes.
Again, thank you. Once again, congratulations and thank you, Tina, and to Cami, and thank you, Lynn, for introducing that. Next, we have our employee recognition high five award, and Gabby is going to present that.
So Jake Austin is one of our operations supervisors. I can see you.
No, he's not. He is not.
He is not. That's September 1st. So Jake recently completed his TSSP, which is the Transit Safety and Security Program Certification course through the Transit Safety Institute, which is funded by the FTA. And to do that, he had to complete 3 or 4 classes within 3 years. So 4 of their courses, and those courses are the Transit Bus System Safety, Fundamentals of Bus Collision Investigation, Transit System Security, and Effectively Managing Transit Emergencies. So The certification completion indicates that Jake has a broad-based knowledge of the safety and security principles applicable to transit system safety, operations, and management. It's a huge commitment of time and travel on Jake's part and support from his family to make that happen. And so we're just really excited that he took on the ambition and challenge to get it done. And Jake is the third person at Link Transit to have their TSSP. So it's a rare thing and we're just really proud of it.
Gabby, isn't there one more announcement?
Oh, I can make that now. Absolutely. Jake will also, starting September 1st, be our new assistant operations manager.
Wow.
Nice. Congratulations, Jake, and thank you. That's awesome. Thanks, Gabby.
Next generation.
All right, moving on is now's the time if any one of my fellow directors has something within his or her jurisdiction that they would like to update the board on. That would be the appropriate time to do it.
Thank you.
Not seeing any takers. We will move along. At the finance committee report, that's me. Okay, so we did meet on Thursday, August 3rd, and it was good, a lot of discussion. First, we discussed the 2020 performance plan update and evaluation as we had discussed on the tail of the previous meeting's discussion. The staff provided a recap of Vision 2020, and then we staff presented a report card information to the members, and some key points that were addressed was a 58% implementation of Vision 2020, a successful staff recruiting program, which we're going to talk more about, enabling the rollout of additional service in future bid cycles. You got here. Cash flow scenarios related to the delivery of Vision 2020 commitments with and without the collection of the second 10th that discussion was also had, and linked progress toward meeting its Vision 2020 commitments, and a little bit of discussion around benchmarks to evaluate Link's progress toward meeting its 2020 commitments if the second 10th tax collection is needed. And we're going to have more discussion about that today. We went on to discuss the RFP to 2023-01 regarding the 40-foot electric coaches that we discussed at the last board meeting. The committee members were largely in favor of the staff recommendation due to uncertainties related to the acquisition of new class of electric vehicles, and also not being really clear on whether or not we're going to have the facilities, to accommodate the charging demands of the growing fleet. So, and we're going to have, obviously, that's an action item today, but I want to be clear that there was a recommendation from the finance committee specific to that acquisition that now is perhaps not the best time for that. So again, more discussion on that. We did talk about the East Wenatchee sidewalk and bus stop improvements. The city of East Wenatchee did approach with respect to contributing to that project. Committee members asked our CEO to report back more specific information about how the project is funded and how much Link is expected to contribute. We talked about, and I think we alluded to this at the last board meeting, perhaps I can't remember, but new cameras for Columbia Station here. The proposal was put to the finance committee. It's new cameras that have facial recognition technology for security and other important measures such as public records requests and that sort of thing. Overall cost is $105,000, and correct me if I'm wrong, Nick, but I believe it has a 10-year operating piece included in that. The general consensus of the finance committee was that it was a no-brainer. But again, that's going to be something that we discussed today, I believe. Glacier parking lot restroom. That's the City of Leavenworth project that's underway now. Link's contribution would be capped at $150,000. And having, I'm sorry, I conflated two projects. My bad. That's not the project that's underway now. But this is a proposed project that would provide our coach operators convenient relief spot, as well as a more convenient spot for our riders in Leavenworth. Also, the Momentum EV charger for East Wenatchee. The total cost of that install is going to be somewhere in the realm of $100,000. And then microgrid update, as we've talked about, one of the things that we looked at when we did go to Europe was having the use of basically microgrid technology. There's a little bit of in order for this to be something that we would be interested in, we have to see, that there is that it makes sense from a cost savings measure for electrical power, and obviously the PUD, Chelan PUD, has to be a player in that, and so we're a little bit unclear as to where the PUD is at on that. So, and I think that's work in progress. And then last but not least is the rideshare grant, the Green Transportation Grant application for $211,000 toward the purchase of additional rideshare vehicles was successful. A request for bids is being developed right now, and we anticipate that the board will see that in October. So a lot of discussion points. If there's any questions, be happy to entertain those. Some of these things we'll discuss in more detail later. Paul?
I may have misheard you as you were talking about camera upgrades. Is that a discussion that's going to be later in the meetings? I otherwise didn't see the action item on that.
I may have misspoke. I think that the recommendation that the finance committee was that, and I don't think it was necessarily a needed board action to do this. It was within the budget. I think for us, it was looking at, did it make sense financially based on everything that we saw? Like I stated, we walked away with it being more or less a no-brainer. So yeah, go ahead.
Well, there's a big question that I would hope that there is more discussion on, and that is employing any kind of facial recognition technology. I don't know of any jurisdiction, city or county, that's currently utilizing such a thing. So to begin using that, I think really does warrant some bigger discussions to be had for sure.
Am I accurately depicting the technology by using the term facial recognition, or am I misusing that?
Right, it is currently used. We have a list of there's 2 transit systems in Washington and several school districts and several cities that actually do the same one. It's cloud-based. It takes videos just like anywhere else. It drops off after 30 days. It's not internet.
And it is for the facility.
Yeah.
I understand.
And we can also turn that feature off, the facial recognition. What it does help though is it helps us keep people trespassed. It helps the police. If we have a trespasser coming on, we can help trespass those folks too. So the $105,000 is for 10 years. It's $10,000 a year, fully 100% maintenance. They replace the cameras. They do that's the subscription costs every year. So I mean, it's just it was within our authority, and yeah,
I guess the rationale is especially that you're moving in that direction for. That just highlights really the importance of having that bigger discussion, because everybody sitting here as board members has a vested interest in whether you move forward with that technology or not, because you'll be used as an example. Once it starts, then it's a matter of, can you control it?
Can you control what? I'm not sure what.
Well, law enforcement agencies, some cities and across the state, the nation have already decided not to employ such technologies because of the bigger risks that they pose societally. So those discussions really do need to be had in a bigger picture before one entity that covers multiple areas decides to employ it.
What I might suggest is, since that technology is, or that feature of the technology is on and off, so to speak, for lack of a better description, that if this becomes a board policy issue or a question about using that feature, that we take up that discussion at a later time. I do think that the cameras themselves, technologies, sans the facial recognition feature, is again a no-brainer in terms of the security features and just the needed upgrade, and then the cost component of it over a 10-year period. And when you amortize that out, it is a no-brainer. But I am sensitive to the point that Paul makes, but I think we can address that if need be, if that's the board's wish at a later time. Aaron.
Yeah. I think Commissioner Straubing, I tend to agree with you. I think there needs to be some analysis, and Nick and I have talked about this a little bit already about turning on that facial recognition software. And this is a side issue from whether or not you want to buy these cameras. And we've already started doing some legal analysis regarding potential issues, pros and cons that may come up with the facial recognition software. That at a minimum, you will need to develop a policy regarding the use of it. And that'll take some time to process. So you just want to, my recommendation is move a little carefully with that.
Thank you, Aaron, and thank you, Paul.
Just out of curiosity, how many cameras are we talking about?
For Ron?
36.
And where would they be? Not just this facility, I assume.
Just facility.
36 cameras just here?
Just replacing the current ones we have already in place. So the ones we have in place now, I mean, we had a car several years ago, driving to the platform, run into a shelter, back out, drive off, and we got a blurry car. Yeah. And so we can't really determine anything. The cameras are how old, Ron?
They're at least 9 to 10 years old.
So these are high resolution. They can see at night as well, I assume?
Yes.
Okay.
We also have one.
Sounds like they're bad news for the bad guys. If employed properly, which is good.
Right, it's a lot more clear.
Yeah, we can talk about that.
I think the 36th camera was in Mayor Agnew's office. Yeah, you missed it. Sorry.
Mark was distracting us here.
With something productive more so than me. All right. Any other questions regarding Finance Committee? If not, we'll move on. All right. CEO report, please.
Okay, so last month we talked about some of our folks heading down to the Washington State Transit Association's annual conference in Vancouver, and they returned local celebrities. Gary, John, why don't you take us stand up here? They came back second place, maintenance rodeo. Well, fun. This is not Gary's first rodeo. Rodeos, and he has a whole chest of awards for it. So we thank him for all he did and what he did for this team. Humberto's not here, unfortunately, but we just want to congratulate you guys. You did awesome. You served us well. Next year, though,
yeah, we're moving up. We went from third in regional to second state.
That's pretty awesome.
The next one's first.
So we did great. I think you guys did great. Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Yeah, we did have 3 operators go down. Gabby, you want to just?
We did have 3 operators go down. We didn't place, but you know, this was my first state rodeo that I got to go and be a spectator at, and it was a really cool thing. I encourage all of you to come next year if you haven't been. It's pretty nifty. I will Intercity Transit took home a lot of hardware. I did speak to one of their operations folks and put them on notice that we are coming for them next year. So definitely tapped into some competitive nature, but so proud of these guys. They did a great job. And having a maintenance team allows us to, once we get placed as operators, be grand champions of the rodeo, which is pretty cool. So our drivers that went down did a great job. They represented us really well. Washington is a powerhouse at the national level for transit rodeo. So we had a lot of national winners there. So hopefully we are making all kinds of contacts on how to learn from those folks and be more competitive there. But Roberto Torres was our 35-foot coach operator. Abel Moreno was our cutaway or body on chassis. And then Bobby Beeson did our 40-foot categories, which we don't have a 40-foot course. We don't have room for it. So the training department and the rodeo folks got together and tried to get him at least, a handful of the obstacles that he would be seeing at state. And then otherwise he practiced on Saturday, but they all represented us very well. And yeah, just proud of everybody that participated and excited for next year.
So did they split those up according to agency size, or is it all you're just thrown in and?
We're just in it together. Yeah.
Vehicle size.
Vehicle size, only,
Right,
but
right,
not the
not
transit
agency.
agencies.
Yeah.
Right. So some agencies have rodeo courses set up all year round and people can just practice throughout the year. We do ours in the yard, so that doesn't make operational sense for us, but if we can find the space, we'll be opposed to it.
Congratulations.
There you go.
Oh, Ed, do you have a comment?
I just wanted to say, I got to follow the guys around for this bus or the maintenance rodeo and do all of the events that they did, the 7 different events that they had to troubleshoot or answer questions for. And it was really competitive. You guys should be really proud of yourselves for doing it. It was good.
Very cool. Very cool. Thank you. Thanks, Ed. Okay, moving on. We are planning to cancel the September board meeting and finance committee meeting. So we did find that we have a resolution, thanks to Aaron, that authorizes pay warrants prior to the board approving them. However, it is dated. It's dated in 1991, so we'll have to be updated on it. Yeah. So we'll bring that to the October board meeting. The reason we're canceling it, I had a prearranged vacation that before this ever came up. And I'm going on Selena. The bigger reasons won't be here the week before, so you wouldn't get anything you guys got today. So
yeah, you would. You got a backup plan for me.
And I want Deborah, our guest services supervisor downstairs, kind of took it upon herself, I believe, Lynn, is that correct, to keep guest services open or the second floor open during this heat, until 7 o'clock or the latest she needs it. I'm sorry.
What is determined heat? Some people are 90.
There's a heat advisory in place right now.
So probably through the end of this week until it starts cooling down. So that was great on Deborah's part. The facility update. We took the committee, which was Mark, Kevin, no, not Kevin, Mark, Randy, and Rob at the Mill Bay Casino. Actually, look at their building.
It wasn't for that purpose.
6 hours later, we left.
Poorer than when we got there.
So, but what we did is we looked at the Sprung building, because the Mill Bay Casino is a Sprung building, and that is not totally conducive to what ours would look like if we went down that direction. I know we had a little pushback for the architecture look, but we're looking at functionality and cost also built into this. So we felt, it's worthwhile investigating it more and finding out if it would work, how much it would cost and everything. And that's just the shell of it. You still have to put all the infrastructure into the charging. We did have, the 4 or 6 of us with Ed there talk about maybe tearing down the existing building and just putting a bigger structure right there. Like we originally thought that. Bob, you're right. It was actually around 67 million. I think the total bill was, but as soon as we saw that, we kind of wiped that off the table and started over. That was way too much money. So the sprung structure, maybe it'd cost about $4.5 million or something to build this, something big enough to house all our vehicles. In talking to Eric Howe and Randy Cook, consultants, they said they kind of recommend that we do not go down that path. Mostly because we'd have probably, they estimated first go around about $1.6 to $2 million in lost costs by just tearing down the building and putting up a temporary charging facility that we'd have to have for our vehicles. So we have to find temporary charging. We have switch gear. We have all kinds of stuff in front at the north end of our current parking garage that would have to be relocated, concrete torn up. So just the cost in moving what we currently have would be a lot of money that we just feel that is probably not the best use of the funds.
And we wouldn't necessarily see a return on part of it.
Correct. So we're looking at some other alternatives, keeping our current structure, maybe building another structure out in the north end, and finding a better way to flow, use the property to flow the buses coming in and fueling and leaving. We're gonna have less and less fueling as we go on because we're getting out of the fueling business. If we do move our fuel station, Ed was suggesting we just do above ground diesel tank because we have less diesels and fuel our gas vehicles off site, which makes sense for the gas station right next door. So there's a lot of moving pieces right now. We did see a microgrid last month in Martha's Vineyard, which was pieced together at best. You would think they'd have a lot of money for their transit system. They unfortunately they don't. They have 30% of their funding comes from their fares, $8 for a day pass. They have a pretty much captive audience right there. And the facilities are leased from the airport, which they just signed another 20-year lease, hoping that they can extend that out for the next 20 years. Their facilities they're shared with the Department of Licensing facility. It was kind of an eye-opener how lucky we are to have what we have in Washington State, especially here at Link Transit. Ed did take a group from the PUD and Clayton, our engineer, our electrical engineer, over to Snohomish County, look at their microgrid system over there. He said that one was put together and that was a first-class system. The reason they really are buying into it heavily over Snohomish County, last winter, they lost power for a week or 2 weeks for a couple different variations, but they had to buy power off the open market for the couple weeks that they were needing power to subsidize what they needed for the community. $45 million worth of extra power they purchased. So they're very much incentivized to get this microgrid system working. And they said they could actually switch, switch this switch, and you wouldn't even see the lights blink, and nothing would happen in the computer from the battery pack to the grid. So that is a really good. It was a really good learning trip, and they had. Randy,
sorry, I was just curious what the power is that microgrid.
What powers it? I believe they have. Ed, you were there. It's on there.
So they had 500 kilowatts of solar, 1 megawatt of battery backup. At this point, they're going to actually move half of their solar, or 2/3 of their solar, to a different area and put in 25 megawatts of battery backup, along with a 350 kilowatt generator. And they can even pull from their electric plug-in Nissan Leafs. They can pull the power from those or charge those. All on their microgrid. Their switching gear, they actually did it for us while we were there, and switched over from land power to being island, and the lights didn't flicker. Computers didn't turn off. Nothing changed other than they were just now running off of solar and charging the batteries that were running the system off of solar. It was really slick. They built a whole facility to go visit it. They've had people from all over the world come and visit it. I would, if you guys were at all interested, I'm sure I can get you an appointment, but it is really amazing.
I was just curious, what fuels a 350 kilowatt generator?
Diesel.
Okay.
So our question, it went over with some PUD folks, like I said, and they're interested in doing something out over here. They want somebody to create this microgrid system, which would help them in the future offset some of their power demands. My question is, why didn't they do that with their facility? And then they built this big one right next to us, which is hard, you know, when they just took the power right up. In doing so, the cost of creating the microgrid is about 3 times the cost of just pulling the line in. So what we're wanting to do to see if the PUD actually will be a partner with us. So what kind of partner will that be? I think anytime we spend that kind of money, we have to have some kind of rate of return on that money to find out that it's not just something that we do, but it's something that pays off in the future to do. So that's our next goal with them. So we kind of got 2 parallel paths going, about one for the electrical infrastructure, the one for actually the building, and finding out how we can utilize our existing structures, maybe put more office space in there, and maybe build one additional bus parking garage at the north end. So we're going to try to get the committee together here in the next couple of weeks with Randy and Eric to go over it. I'm getting current of the timeline. We have some BYD buses coming in on a contract that Ed just signed the letter to proceed to by May of 2025. And we need those, some way to charge it, because right now we currently do not have a way to charge any new bus technology coming into the yard. It's all DC charging. All we have is AC.
That's also the other compelling piece about Sprung structures, are the greatly minimized construction timeline. It's pretty amazing. If you haven't, I really encourage you to take a look, because please don't use, although it's a fine looking structure, but don't use Mill Bay as, you know, as a sole judgment for what they look like. I mean, if it's good enough for Blue, what is it? Blue Origin. I mean, go to page 35 and look through that. It's pretty amazing. So it's definitely compelling.
Well, we definitely use them quite a bit too. So we'll see how it works out. The last thing I have is pretty proud. Every quarter we do these incentive payments for our staff. They have to meet 4 criteria. They get $25 per criteria. It's ridership, meaning ridership goal, the accident goal, complaints, and cost per hour. And I can't remember the last time we met all 4. Justin says, I said, is this the first time? He says, I don't think so. I wouldn't say that, but I think it's pretty dang close to the first time, or one of the top 5 times we met it. But so we have our club. I shouldn't say this. Hopefully no one's here that's going to get an incentive, but we met all 4 incentives, so we'll be able to get a check for $200 tomorrow. Is that tomorrow? Oh, Thursday. Thursday. All ready together. So let's get it there. Good job. And one last plug from Richard's retirement event is at 5:30 to 7:30 tomorrow at Waterford.
Yep, it's downtown Wenatchee, right across the street from the Chelan Douglas Land Trust.
5:30 to 7:30.
5:30 to 7:30. Drop in, very casual.
Thank you. Nick,
You have to buy your own beverage.
BYO.
We'll have food, but.
That's it. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Any questions for Nick? All right. We are going to move on now to resolution 2023-21, approving links 2023-2028. Yeah, we already did that. You don't have to do that. All right, 7.2, interlocal with City of Leavenworth for Glacier parking lot. That's the project that I spoke of in my finance committee report. Resolution 2023-22. And Samantha.
Thank you. So we did bring this item to the finance committee. So I'll just give you a little bit of an overview on some of the details, and feel free to stop me if you have questions. The City of Leavenworth is doing a project where they're totally redoing the parking and adding a little bit more amenities to the Glacier parking lot. And they are asking that we enter into an interlocal agreement in an amount not to exceed $150,000 all in for the project. So that would be architecture, engineering, and construction. And let's see. Oh, it's not in the budget, and we will use we will reallocate funds from other projects that won't be completed this year if it's billed in 2023, and then it will be carved out in the 2024 capital budget.
Is this for anything more than a restroom, or is it just a restroom?
Oh, thank you. So this will be adding one restroom to a pre-existing building for them. So we're expecting it to be under that number, but that was our hard limit that we gave them.
I didn't see any details on this, but this is a part of an existing building, so it's climate controlled, hot and cold running water, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it will be private use, so it will be for coach operators or link staff only, and it'll be at that Glacier parking lot or the Glacier shelter that's already existing there. So that'll be really helpful for coach operators to have a location that's more convenient to use on the route in the 20s.
There's no new construction or there's no new construction like element to the exterior construction, or what I'm getting at is this is in Leavenworth.
This is in Leavenworth.
Is subject to their city's ordinances about the Bavarian thing?
Yes.
Well, actually, it is new construction. So this is the DOT lot. Sorry, Sandra.
No, you're good.
The DOT lot about halfway through town or 3/4 of the way through town. Leavenworth's turning that into a park and ride lot, and putting public restrooms in. So they're building a brand new public restroom facility. And so we're just tagging onto it, to build 3 walls and the ceiling to the one end of it. Put
So what are they looking for from the board today?
Authorization to enter into the interlocal, and we would be capped at $150,000
For a bathroom?
Yeah.
total. That would be our hard limit. We're hoping and expecting it to be lower.
Prevailing wage.
Yes.
What kind of structure is it? Is it block, concrete, or is it 2x4s? And
They're in the design phase right now. They were hoping for us to do the interlocal partnership early. I believe it's going to be a fully built out. It's not taking a modular type thing.
Paul might have some more information.
Yeah, that's my understanding. This is a part of their plan. Like, this is in conjunction. They're building public restrooms at this facility. It's a Glacier parking lot. It's not a parking lot, it's a parking lot. So they're building facilities for the public, and we are asking that a separate facility is built specifically for link transit.
I understand that it's a concrete block. Is it 2x6 construction? What is it? Sheet rock and stucco like the last one we did?
I don't know that they've gotten that far in the design process.
I'm not a fan of building any restrooms after the last debacle of that restroom that we built up in Leavenworth. It's subject to their Bavarian theme ordinances and covenants. It cost 4 times as much as it should have when it was all said and done.
Yeah, I mean, this is adding on, giving our operators it's going to be a layover. So the pullout they currently have up there at Glacier Park, the DOT lot, they're going to extend that so it accommodates 2 buses. And we, since that's going to be our layover point, we'd like to have a private restroom for our operators. That's it. And we figure that the long-term expense is pretty minimal. But yes, you're right. They have to.
What's wrong with the brand new one we built just the other end of town?
Well, that's part of the service that we use that they lay over at the other end of town, because it's really not the right location for our guests. Because what we have to do is go up, pick people up, turn around, and go back to the Welcome Village, lay over there with people on the bus. And so it's not the most conducive ride for our passengers to go back up, turn around.
I'll just add one more thing. This will be greatly appreciated by the operators. Currently, they've had to use the porta potty in that location, which is a little difficult in the winter. Can't imagine the thought of even using it right now. But yeah, it's certainly something that operators would greatly appreciate and have some gratitude for.
And this will be built next year, 2024. We don't have a cost. That's why we put a limit on 150, and hopefully it should come in less. It really should. We're hoping it should.
Do we see what the architectural renderings and build sheet and specifications are before we start allocating money to a blind resource?
This is just enters us into an interlocal, and we can pull out at any time if we want.
But once we commit, then they can do their design. Well, interlocal for 150.
Right, but we have to we can pay for the design fees, which we told them to pay for the design fees. If we choose not to do it, we can pull out.
We also have several checkpoints in the design process where we have to give approval of certain portions of it.
Board approval or staff approval?
Whatever you like, but as it's written and as the action item's written, it would be up to staff. And we can give you staff updates or come to you with items.
I don't disagree with Paul. I think it'd be wonderful to provide something for our operators. I'm just looking at their taxpayer funding as a necessary public, thing. Can we get some sort of waiver or something to respect the taxpayer dollars, build a nice bathroom that looks decent, but maybe it doesn't have all the intricacies that the last one that we had to build because of their variant theme ordinances. I mean, I went through Petit's pay estimate line by line on that thing, and it was absurd what they paid to have that bathroom built. Absolutely absurd.
This will be hopefully really basic, especially on the inside. It's just gonna basically have a toilet, sink, and towels.
And our Third Street one was 10 by 15, basic, and $160,000.
Right, and that one is, that one's a lot larger. This one has have a break room in it. That one needs to be actually small.
And then I agree, having a restroom is great. It's just what do they cost? Is it reasonable or not?
I'm not saying we got to build a cinder block, CMU block with, nothing, but it'd be nice to build something that has longevity, that's comfortable to use, heated, air conditioned, whatever, mini split, but it doesn't have to be.
Hopefully they can just tag it right onto their current heating and air conditioning unit they're going to be using for the year-round bathroom. So that's what we're hoping. That's why it's just a separate stall basically on the end that's private.
We just need a little bit of, if they're building from scratch, we just need a little bit of interior space to accommodate that. So all the exterior stuff, if it's Bavarian, let them pay for that. We just need to cover whatever additional costs on the interior to build the bathroom, the way I see it.
We'll talk to them, and I mean, we can table this and bring back once it's designed. It's kind of pay as we go. If we like it, we can.
What's the timeline, Nick, for their timeline?
They're beginning the design right now.
So we've told to go ahead with it, that we would get this premise to the board and hopefully get it approved. At this point, we do have a house, so if it does come up where we don't want to do it, we can always pull it back and say, it's just not gonna work for us.
Joyce?
I just want to say that, I understand the concern about dollars spent, but Leavenworth is a Bavarian town. It's been a Bavarian town for, I don't know how long it's been. And I think that we as an organization that partners with them, we need to respect what they do in their town. So, but yeah, keeping costs, and allowing them to know about that. But I just think, out of respect for Leavenworth themselves, and this is how they have decided to move their future, and we need to respect that. So, given all of that, I'm going to make a motion to enter into a local, interlocal agreement with the City of Leavenworth for the private bathroom addition to the scope of the work that is being discussed and what's that have presented to us.
And I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Was that with the $150,000 cap plus 10%?
Presented it here at the $150,000.
Very good. Any further discussion?
Like I said, I just like to say I'm not opposed to the bathroom. I'd like to see what we're paying for before we blindly throw money at it. That's all I'm asking for. I'm not opposed to it being in conjunction with some other thing. I know what happens. You let architects run wild without any constraints and sideboards on them. So I'm fully supportive of a bathroom and fully supportive of being in Leavenworth in conjunction with another project. I don't approve $150,000 budgetary line items without the slightest idea of what I'm actually getting other than it's a bathroom. That's my comment.
Commissioner Overby.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. The one thing that I do have a concern about is, and it was actually briefly mentioned here, was the ongoing costs that may be associated with this as far as maintenance and operations of that facility. There's been no agreement or even any information provided of what a potential annual would be or a split with the City of Leavenworth on this. I understand this is specifically for the design and leading up to the construction of. But before I would be able to make an educated decision with regards to this is the right move, I'd like to know what the totality of
Right, and we've talked to the City of Leavenworth and they've agreed to maintain it for us, and they'll say they'll do an interlocal with us afterwards. I don't know if they'll get charged to it or not. This is information I would like to know. Okay, sure, you bet. We can bring, and like I say, we will get the information, bring it back to you. If you're not satisfied, then we'll discontinue the project.
Is there any further comments, questions?
And we can sure pass that along to the city.
So I do think it's important to note the concerns. I certainly echo the sentiments expressed by my peers. With that, call for the question. All those in favor of the motion as presented?
Aye.
Anybody opposes it?
Aye.
Nay.
Okay, so we have, let's get it, I'm gonna do a count.
vote?
Yeah, let's do a roll call.
By hands?
What's that?
You want it by hands?
Yeah, let's do a count. That's fine.
Roll call.
So all those in favor of the motion as presented,
2, 3, 4, 5.
those opposed?
I got her, so.
Okay.
Opposed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Okay, motion fails.
So do you want us to bring it back, any information back to you?
I think, yeah, just table it, and like I said, I'm fully supportive of a bathroom, I just want some more information, I wanna make sure that we can look constituency in the eye, said, yeah, we took care of your tax dollars, this supports Link and supports their operators, but we're not wasting money.
We're not disputing the need.
Okay. That's not.
Would you like to see it back in October?
Sure.
Paul? If I can speak to this, I think we're getting caught up in the weeds a little bit with the bathroom. One of the things that we're really dealing with in Leavenworth right now is Leavenworth is we have crippling on-time performance in Leavenworth due to traffic. And one of the primary reasons we have that is because we only have the restroom at Wolfman. Therefore, we have to lay over in Wolfman. And one of the things that we provide here in our mission is provide convenient and efficient transit. We are unable to do so without having a restroom facility for our operators at the west end of town. So this is a crucial element in order for us to provide better service to the city of Leavenworth.
So Paul, I don't think anybody, as you heard, I don't think anybody denies that there's not a need for it. I think more importantly, as from a fiduciary responsibility, the 150,000 is the bone of contention. So I think that nobody that I see disregards the need or the what you did.
And maybe it's 200. I just want to know that we can justify the cost, that we have a maintenance agreement in place with the known cost of annual operations. Maybe it's 250. But after, I want to be able to justify those costs and say, yeah, that we built a good structure, we built it as economical as possible in the current market conditions. That didn't happen last time, and I don't want to make the same mistake.
That makes sense.
All right, good discussion. Thank you. We'll keep you informed. All right, we're moving on to 7.3, which is our RFP 2023-01, the continuation of our discussion last month with respect to the 40-foot electric buses and the purchase of those. I alluded to this in my report for the Finance Committee, again, noting that it was the Finance Committee's recommendation to support staff's analysis that we not move forward with the purchase of those 10 buses at this particular point in time. And again, I will say, as somebody that traveled to Europe to see firsthand, as I told Nick, everything that I saw, the quality, it was a value proposition was there, but it has to be the right time for the right reasons for this agency. And so when last month we talked about from a operation perspective, from a maintenance perspective, basically a 360 view on this and what those impacts would be. And so it caused some of us, I think, to take a little bit of pause. So that's what's in front of us, that discussion, so that the board can make a decision to either move forward or not at this time. So, Randy,
What was the delivery date on these?
It's roughly about 2 years. And that was part of the problem, was just the coordination of our new facility, having a place to charge them. But let me back up just a little bit here. So this is, Richard, this is something that he really felt strongly about, and I don't want to take this lightly because I think they do offer something unique and different than we have seen here in the Valley of the US that we haven't seen here. We did go out for an RFP for 40-foot buses that could travel a minimum 420 miles on one charge, and basically got one responded back that actually met the qualifications, and that was Ebusco. BYD offered their bus, but they needed to have opportunity charging in the middle to meet that need. Like Mark said, I think they're a great vehicle. They're built well, they're lightweight, they have a lot of great amenities and they work really well in the European countries, and they have thousands of them apparently over there working pretty well. So what we did here is we looked at it a little bit differently. We said, okay, let's get operations plan together, maintenance together. Let's get everyone together and see how it actually affects, because 420 miles actually work for us. Planning says, well, our routes to Chelan are about 490 miles currently on one bus. They run about one bus. And so that our Gilligs can do that easily. They have about a 600-mile range. But they said we can do it. We can interline the 21 going to Chelan with the Leavenworth or something else, so we can make a bus work for most of the day. There will have to be trade outs, so that would be a change in our run cut, change in our bid schedule, but they could do that. So planning said yes. Operations says we can make it work too, but that would put bus number, I believe 9, that they would have to, a driver would have to learn how to drive 9 different varieties of buses. Well, we're trying to get that down so we don't have as many types of vehicles that they have to drive. So, but it could be done. So operations said yes. Maintenance was more concerned about what we've dealt with BYD, parts, maintenance, just what happens if something goes wrong, what happens if they don't meet the range. And there's a slew of things, especially since they don't have anybody here in the US currently that would maintain them, any parts. Could we get parts? How would we maintain them? Ebusco's since come back and said, we will put something here at the port. We're talking to them about putting a little facility in that will have a trainer and some parts, and we can put a charger in, a 2-headed charger that you can charge the vehicles until your charging gets ready to go. So, I mean, technically we could put all the pieces together and kind of make it work. The big part too, then we looked at financial. They're with the charger, they're $925,000 a copy. So getting 10 of them is $9.2 million. That's right, our own money that we have put up front. We have 12 2019 Gillig 40-foot coaches that our guests love them because they're comfortable. I have back bucket seats. They got all the amenities. The reason they can go farther is because they're lightweight. They have lightweight plastic seats. We get comments on our current BYDs that go to Leavenworth on our express route that they're not as comfortable. So you're running these even longer, clear the mass in the back. That's the other side of the coin too.
And we're not even halfway through our useful life on the Gilligs?
Correct. We have 12 Gilligs. They have about 40,000 miles on them. They're a 500,000 mile, 12-year life vehicle. Ed says when we only use 6 a day, we could get another 8-9 years out of those Gilligs. True. The cost of the diesel is about $200,000 more a year than it would be on any kind of electric vehicle we use. Maintenance, we're finding is about the same. Electric vehicle, diesel vehicle with maintenance about the same. So we looked at all those pieces and we looked at what we have on our plate currently with a new facility, trying to get our service up and running, trying to get more people here. We have 23 current BYD battery electric vehicles that are AC charging. We're trying to put them in place. That makes sense because we only have 3 chargers here that are going. So you have to rotate these vehicles out, trade them out because they don't meet our needs currently. So what we want, so our recommendation, and it was based upon evaluation of all those criteria, that it wasn't really worth us spending $9 million today when we have a grant coming up in a couple of years or 4 more years that we could potentially write and replace these diesel vehicles for and get 80% of that money. And we just felt this wasn't the right timing to do this. And so that was our recommendation to the finance committee. Kyle?
Just one thing I've seen since I've been here, which has been a while, is these electric buses, the technology just keeps getting better and better and better.
Exactly.
And maybe if we wait 4 or 5 years, the range on them, we can get comfortable seats, we can, get better parts distributorship. So it gives us the time to foster maybe that private-public relationship with the Port or Douglas County and, Ebusco and get the maintenance facility here or a distribution warehouse here, something. But I think if anything else, just the technology. We got 5-6 years on those buses that we have. Maybe we'll start looking at half that lifespan left to look at what the technology is doing.
You look at our current BYDs that we have, they're about 130-mile range. The BYDs we're getting in 2025 that are DC charging, they have 230-mile range. So the current buses we already have.
They're doubling every couple of years.
Pretty much doubling, yeah, and it's just a different battery technology, it's just, like you say, technology changes, and this is, we're in the infancy stages of this, and I think it's just gonna get better. Will it ever meet the needs to go, 500 miles? I don't know. I mean, we've heard hydrogen coming in, I mean, all kinds of stuff going in, so not everybody is lucky enough, they're like we are, to have local electricity. And it makes sense in our region, and that's why we're pushing so hard, and we don't want to stop the program, but we feel, just talked before this meeting, and we, I think if we need to look at any more electric vehicles, it's for the paratransit getting around in town. We bought 3 E-Transit, 40 E-Transits. Is that right, Ed? E-Transits? That,
yes.
Yeah. That we haven't gotten service yet. They say they have about 60-mile range, but from what we're hearing, they might have a longer range. This will take all our paratransit gas rigs off the road if we get those in place too. So I mean, we're fighting a couple battles here. We've got an infrastructure we need to get in place. Otherwise, you can buy all the buses you want. You can't charge them; they're worthless. And then we have the current vehicles that we're limited to how many miles. So we're working really hard to slide those in where we can to make them make sense within the routes and adjust our routes to meet their needs too. So that was the reason why we took a hard look at it. It wasn't just something we just said, no, we don't like it. And I know it'd be the first again in the States, and they really want a beta testing site, but we as a collective group just decided it really wasn't the right time for us to do it. And that's why we made the recommendation to the finance committee.
Recommendation to postpone or just cancel the RFP altogether?
Well, we cancel it, but not shelve it forever. Just like Kyle said, let's get our facility underway. Let's figure out what's going on. Let's get some other vehicles that replace the ones we need to replace. We got Gilligs that work really good right now. They have a life left with them. Let's tackle some things that we need to tackle that really needs to work.
So I just wanted to clarify, we're closing on the window where we could award. So if we choose not to, we would be choosing not to award, not to cancel.
Choosing not to award.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, I guess that's my question for legal counsel. Do we need to take a formal motion to reject both these bids on this RFP for the record?
No, you can just let it lapse if you don't want to take action to approve. But it does need to come before the board to make either a decision to approve or to let it lapse. You don't have to make a motion to let it lapse.
So we do nothing to just lapse.
Right, and Samantha's right. You will have to go out.
No action alternative.
Yeah, you will have to go out for a new RFP. And sure, it's not something that's able.
Commissioner Steinberg. I don't know if a motion be appropriate, but I'd make a motion to let the RFPs lapse until we have the infrastructure in place to support the acquisition of an all-electric fleet.
Second.
So can I clarify your motion?
What Mark just said.
Well, I don't, if you just want the RFP to lapse, you don't have to take any action.
It doesn't hurt though.
I don't want
it doesn't hurt, but if you.
I don't want it to seem like we don't want to do this. It's just not the appropriate time. So I want that to be reflected, that we want to just postpone this until we have the infrastructure in place to support the acquisition of these buses.
Okay. So maybe amending it to, I make a motion to let this RFP lapse, and when the time is right, we'll go out.
Resubmit.
Proposal.
That's what I said, but yeah, that's more eloquently put. Sure. There we go.
So the last bid.
Clerk got that. Did you get that? Thank you.
The last bid is Ted Dowling, who's the salesman for this region. He's there was pretty much, we need to know because we have a window next week to slot these vehicles in for production. I said, I just don't think that's going to happen. And then he wrote back, well, what if we gave you 30 more days? And I said, still, it's not going to happen. I said, so what's the minimum we can buy if we even wanted to go down a beta testing site to see if they work? He said 4 to 6. 6 was the minimum. He'd probably honor 4 at this price. And so I talked to Ed about it again, and his response was the same. He just doesn't feel like this is the good time to be doing this. I just want to put all the pieces out on the table. This is what they're really wanting to get in the market, but we got a lot going on, and I believe, and I think we all believe that we just need to wait a couple more years, 2 or 3 more years to if we can get some grant money, even better. To see what the technology does.
Means we're looking at maintenance nightmares, start getting onesies and twosies of this and that. Poor Ed gonna have to be fixing 30 different kinds of vehicles up there.
Well, and once again, and Rob and certainly Ed, I don't question the quality. I don't question the longevity of the coaches. I don't question the company. We did our research, we did our due diligence. I don't question any of that. What I do question, I don't think it's the right time for a number of reasons, not least of which I don't think we have the infrastructure in place right now. I think it's trying to fit a square peg in a round hole, and whether we get 4 or whether we get 10, that doesn't change that dilemma. And so, I mean, I just don't, I don't think, I appreciate what Ted has offered, but I don't think it really addresses our issue.
You still second, Randy? Yeah, so we still have a motion.
It's been moved and seconded. Is everybody clear on the motion that was made? Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor of the motion as presented?
Aye.
Any opposed? Are there any abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Appreciate the discussion. All right. Moving on to the Link Transit Vision 2020 Performance Plan Update and Evaluation.
Yeah, we'll go through this. Christina isn't here tonight, so I'm going to be Christina. I do her business. But before we get to this, one of the things that we were tasked with last month was to create some performance measures to look at and be graded on for next March to see if we want to put the sales tax back on the ballot. During the finance committee meeting, we kind of went through this presentation with them, and they ended up pushing that back onto us in a sense as well. You guys come up with the performance measures that you want to see. And we've kind of kicked it around and tried to find some, but we're just struggling with that. So that's why we're bringing this to you again. I'm going to show you where we are, where we should be, and then we would like your input on what you think we should be looking at for evaluation criteria.
And I just want to interject here that, you know, we had basically said that we were going to take a 6-month look at performance, come back, reevaluate. But I want to be clear that if we as directors aren't clear on what it is that we're going to be asking our staff to evaluate, what those metrics are, I don't know that it's necessarily fair that we ask them to come back and tell us what those metrics are. So
Wouldn't a clear starting point be what we promised the voters in 2020 when we put it on the ballot?
Okay, I'll address that right now. Okay, so Vision 2020 recap. This is what the mailer said. We're going to take 20 cents for improvements to senior and disabled services, 55 cents to expanding fixed route service, and 25 cents to buses and expansion equipment here. And this is our service area. I'm not going to read all this little stuff, mostly because I can't see it. So, Vision 2020 recap. So we're going to connect people to the services they need, improve services to seniors and disabled, partner and advanced regional economic development. So we can go through each one of those, or we can just kind of go to the next one. Okay. All right, so I think what's confusing with this too is you got a 3-year timeline right here. And it says we're going to do these things in the next 3 years. And you know what happened in 2020? We got our sales tax, COVID hit, everything shut down. Some things happened that you couldn't even imagine, or even they couldn't even write a good movie about, right? So, but the thing that we didn't really identify was we'll do more than 30 projects are planned for this next 6 years. And this is what Vision 2020 was about. It's a 6-year project to get all these, get our service in place, get our capital projects in place, and provide the service for the next 0.2%. Since the Vision 2020 service improvements delivered to date are, and the big one I'm going to put down the bottom right here, and this is supposed to be in 2021, but we implemented Sunday service for the first time in the agency's history. This was a big undertaking. It Costs a lot of money. If we hired a bunch more people to do this, and we've hung on to it no matter how hard it's been based upon our staffing too. New Saturday service, later weekday service, new weekday trips to Leavenworth, Malaga Waterville. October, we had new service to Malaga Center, Walwell Point Park, later weekday service, and new Sunday service to Wenatchee, same day weekday service to Leavenworth Dart. October, we improved weekday service frequency in East Wenatchee. We had new Sunday service in East Wenatchee, later evening service to Cashmere, additional Sunday service to Chelan Leavenworth. April 23, we improved weekday service frequency in Wenatchee, new weekday trips on Route 18, that's East Wenatchee, began using new turnaround to serve Boudry Street, which we invested in that. That's local contractors out in South Wenatchee Avenue. 2022, we major service redesign, emphasized directness, improvement, routing to minimize transfers, new high frequency corridors and service to new places, new trips to Rock Island, Malaga, new weekday trips in July 2023, new weekday trips on Route 3 to Hospital, South Wenatchee, improved Saturday services, Saturday and Sunday service from routes 9 to 30 minutes. So we've done a lot in the last 2 years.
One thing I would like to see just, and I believe that the routes, everything always needs to be fluid and constantly changing to better service the customers, but I'd like to see what we had to give up. I know there's routes that had to get cut because of driver shortages. There's frequency of routes that had to go down. The amount of times that.
So we, on route, okay, we cut a little bit of service in July this year because of staffing, but we didn't cut service, we cut drivers. And Paul can address that better than I can, but
when we had to suspend the Route 20 to Chelan and the Ardmore route on Route 26, and every effort was made that those folks still had access to the new programs and TripLink and other services we provide. But they were really unproductive trips, really low ridership, and we did not have the drivers to, like, when we had to make those tough decisions when it came to ridership. Those are the cuts we made.
And then this July, we cut back a position and a half, but we still kept the service.
Correct. Yeah, we had to make a couple of tweaks on some routes, truncate the route a little bit and just kind of change it in order to create some timing. And it really put a lot of stress on our operators on this current bid right now. They have been going above and beyond. So what's that? So I guess the easiest way to say that we've been providing the same service with fewer operators.
Nick, I'm not saying that sometimes cutting a route based on ridership is not a good thing. I was never not in favor of cutting the route to Ardmore. I thought that was ridiculous to have a route going to Ardmore for the minimal ridership that we got. But I think it's, you know, everything you add plus everything you subtract, it should be looked at in its totality. So you can say, yeah, these were really good decisions we made so we could have a higher, better level of service to the majority of our ridership. I mean, we still have a finite resource.
Mayor Agnew, we started off this discussion on how do we measure our progress. Doesn't this Vision 2020 report card kind of do that?
Right.
Is that not?
So now we're getting there. I'll just quickly go over this. So the capital projects, you know, we're doing a roundabout up a lot more at East Wenatchee Park and Ride, funding the South Wenatchee Avenue, Malaga Alcoa Highway, Boudry Street that will connect through there, purchase some more vehicles, added chargers, facility redesign, Highway 2 exploration to like bus specific lanes so we can actually get on the shoulder and drive and start to look at that. So this is what you're referring to. So this was in March in 2023 this year that we're figuring we're about 50% there. Right. And then we gave a report card right here saying we're 58%. So I think it was Mark says, well, what did you do to get from 50 to 58%? How do you go back? Is this one here? So then for this presentation, Christina put together, these are the things that we did between March and August of this year to go from the 50 to 58%. So better frequency all day, new trips in Route 3, 918, improved frequency on Route 9, basic service till 1 a.m., conducted workshop at Transit Micro Transit provider, new ride share options, worker driver programs. We have the van pool program, real-time reliable signs. So we're getting there. We're getting this stuff done. And this is just in these few months, 6 months, we've done this much more. Now, the big thing that with the whole holdup on this whole route design that we put together was coach operators, right? I mean, we've been struggling. We've had onesies, twosies, and we lose one or two. So we're like staying, we were like par, then we go down one or two. Things have changed. We put Cammy in place. Lynn, you want to talk about this a little bit?
Sure. As we recognized Cammy earlier, we said we had made her our coach operator recruiter. And she was very instrumental in putting together some real strong social media programs and doing a lot of work with Julie to get the word out there. Also, we negotiated a new contract with higher wages in there that did not hurt at all. But the budget for this year has 103 full-time operators in it. As we've been giving these reports throughout the year, we've not had 103. We've been closer to, in May, we had 77 available, in June, 87. But in August of this year, we had, or first of this month, we had 87 operators, which included a class of 10 trainees. Those 10 are now, all but 2 of them, out on the road, full-time coach operators. So they were eligible to work on the 14th. We have also had 5 operators who were out on extended absences and were unavailable to drive. They have returned from their absence, medical absence, whatever kind of leave they were on. And then we just, on the 9th, added a new class of 16 operators. So since in the last few months, we've brought on almost, 26 new bodies. This new class of 16 brings our budgeted full-time roster up to 101. So while they're not able to drive yet, they should be out in October, and our next class is scheduled to start in October. And we currently have 1 or 2 people already signed up for that class. So our hope is that we will have a strong showing of this class of 16 right now. Like I said, they just got started, but we're hoping that after October, then maybe we'll be at a place where we can slow down the hiring and the training and just be at, at a better spot for us.
You think next year, like the first year, we might be like, for the first time since I can remember, like full staffing capacity? Or full capacity?
Well, we're at 101 right now, and in the budget is 103. So yes, I hope so.
Does that 103 provide what we need to? So how many do we need to meet our?
Oh, it was 103 to meet this need here, but since our paratransit has gone up quite a bit, we're figuring another 5, so we're putting, I think, 108 in the budget
for next year.
But we actually get to a point where we're actually moving the needle. We've talked for so long, like I told Nick, I mean, for so long, it looked like, you're in it's an impossible pass. You can't move the ball forward. All of a sudden, we're looking at an addition of 25, 26 operators. Then it becomes, then the oasis is in view, and you can actually reach out and touch it, and you can move the ball. So it takes on a different appearance.
We're hopeful. Yeah, it's good news.
Well, and part of Clay, I'm sorry. Well, I was going to ask Lynn, so as a general rule, is it a low attrition rate for these classes? Do we generally, is that a 16? Will we graduate 16?
No, we won't. We will
so
not.
We'll have some attrition.
So
that's kind of a variable.
But on our last class of 1, we ended up with 1.
This class and the next class if we actually get there.
He refers to himself as the valedictorian. So.
And yet you're recruiting again for another class.
You bet.
That starts in October.
Right.
So yeah, I wouldn't slow down.
That would take care of any attrition.
Right. That's our hope.
Yeah, I mean, we're starting to see the tide turn, right? I mean,
right. We're going to have people like Roger leaving us, right? That's going to happen. We're going to have people move. We're going to have people take other jobs. But I feel like the first time in a very, very long time that we may be able to, release a breath, but we're not going to do it yet, right, Julie? We're waiting till next year. It will be nice because our trainers have worked nonstop. And so this will be great for them to kind of relax a little too. But but this last class of 10 is an awesome group. They are doing really well, and this new class that just started, they're coming around too. So finally, a little bit of good news. I don't want to jinx it.
Okay, so this finishing this up real quick. The plan for October 2023 improvements are later evening service, better frequency all day. And that's part of the whole structure of this new service design is we need the operators to make it work well for the connectivity, the more direct routes, the more frequency you have, the more opportunity to people to use it. Exactly. If you can know it's going to be there every 10, 15 minutes downtown or something around your street, you don't have to have a schedule, you can go out and grab it. So we figure about 64% currently as of October. So what we, and this is potential for January, later evening, better frequency all day, and but so we're trying to figure out a matrix or something to measure us on. And Christina put this together. That was great. She just took, 100 divided by 6 years. So 17% you should have the first year, 33, 60, 50%, 63 by the end of March is kind of where you wanted to draw the line there. And as October of this year, we're at 64. So then we're getting kind of like, gee, we're kind of meeting these marks. So we need some help if you want to put some kind of performance measures on us, because we just couldn't really come up with any. We showed this to the finance committee meeting and they really couldn't come up with any.
Biggest thing is drivers. You can have the best plan in the world, but you don't have people to drive the buses. Exactly. You can have the buses, have the routes, have the frequency. If you don't have drivers, you don't have any of it. So having drivers is a big deal.
And that's what I shared with Nick. I said, everything else, it starts to come into focus that we can actually deliver upon what we promised to the citizens, to the voters, to the taxpayers. There for the longest while, I mean, we were barely treading water, head underwater. And so all of a sudden it does look like it's more plausible and possible.
Yeah, we surely weren't expanding. We were barely keeping what we had, not expanding.
Again, we have a list of items we promised to give people. Okay. So it seems to me, how do you measure it? I'll check off the ones that are checked off. What is left to go? What's the plan? When are we going to get them done? And how much do they cost? Each one of those.
Right. And that's where, they've planning, Christina and Paul put stuff, the potential January improvements, and they got a list of stuff they want to do to fully complete our service plan that was never fully completed. And that'll get there by the time we get drivers. Paul, I don't know if you have a guesstimation when that could happen or.
Exactly what will happen.
Full
service.
Full service that we wanted to implement.
I don't know. That's kind of a pretty big question. I think that's always evolving.
Yeah.
Where is service going to go? Like how much? I bring it up all the time. Like I ride the bus to work every day, but I have a pretty good excuse, and bus goes right to my office. However, if I want to go to the store, more often than not, I drive, and that's because 30-minute service means I drive to the store. 15-minute service means I can catch the bus, and that's the service we see for. That's kind of service we see for our entire system, is to provide the kind of frequency and service that folks that, that every day works for everyone. That it's not just working for folks that have no other options. And in order to do that, that requires more operators and more resources. And like one of the things that when we have this new influx of operators right now, that's allowed us for this upcoming bid in October for this final quarter, is, we created what we believe are much better pieces of work for the operators. That makes it much easier. That, the hope is that keeps the retention rate. So more operators stay. We're not forcing out, we're not forcing people out like I just can't work this schedule. Better pieces of work. So we have higher retention rates. We can continue to keep the ranks up and continue to pull it up. And that's kind of what we're looking for. Right now, with the new operators, what we've done is kind of filled in some of the gaps. We've already restored all urban service, but we're trying to fill in those gaps, like I was saying, to reduce our hour frequency on a bus route down to 30 minutes if possible. Trying to add 15-minute services to high frequency areas. those kind of things. So that's the general idea, but it's, it's a pretty, I can't really say that I can, give you an outline. Okay, this is what it looks like when it's completed. I don't know what, those goals are always changing.
But I hate to keep harping on this. Didn't we set the goals right here?
Correct. I think what I'm speaking.
I understand that it's going to change going forward, but that's not the point. My point, from my perspective, question was, how do we measure our performance? Here's a method of measuring your performance. How many of these have we done? How many are to go? When are they going to get done?
I was one of the more skeptical people, and this works for me. I mean, I can see where we're at, what percentage. I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. It was hard to justify to charge all these tax dollars when we're barely staying afloat, and we ran this initiative based on growth and opportunity. If I can see that we're getting there, and I can see that we have the personnel base to give people what they wanted, and this does that for me. And I was one of the more skeptical ones, I'll admit. So if we can see that we have the, the financial and the physical capability, more importantly, to actually accomplish the goal, this does that for me. So like Randy said, it's kind of there. So good enough for me.
And Randy, addressing yours, I mean, we are developing, a lot of the stuff is capital projects and that we're working on. So we have to, like East Wenatchee wants some sidewalk improvements. And what we're doing is making sure it ties into transit. So things that tie into transit, and we'll definitely vet it through you guys to make sure that it does and you agree with it. We'll invest into the communities that way. Pathways, sidewalks, and the big untouched, I think, service area, and Paul's, they're working on this too, is East Wenatchee. East Wenatchee is a real tough one, and for like purpose too. And I know that they are not happy planning. I'm talking to Paul and Christine are not happy with what type of services is provided over there just yet. It's difficult, and as the growth continues to move east and more development happens out there, we're gonna have to have more service out there. We get constantly asked to provide service to the airport. What does that look like? I don't know, because you got two flights, one at 6 and one at 2 or 1. Yeah, I booked a flight for 6, so I hope they have 2 flights.
Randy, right, when we look at this report card, what more would you like to see?
I think, what you guys are doing, honestly, it looks like you're making good progress. The new drivers is great. To me, it's just a checklist. Keep going down the checklist. So
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Right. So this is what we provided, and I feel like you're saying that's wanting. And I'm saying, what would you like?
I think he's saying the opposite. I think he's saying.
Oh, so that was the impression I got. He said, okay. That was the impression that I think we were receiving. Is that
check them all. Say that's where we have to go.
Right.
Give us a percentage complete.
No, I think you're doing good. It's just keep going. So what is the goal? The goal is 100%, right?
Right.
So it's nearing 5 o'clock. I think this is a good discussion. I don't want to stifle it, but at the same time, we did put out there that we'll come back in March. I don't want to get to March and then it's not know what we're looking at. So maybe what we need to do, if you feel like there's clarity in this, following the report card and as a checkoff, let's do that. Otherwise,
let's look at year-end January meeting after we've had this full year to review. Let's look where we're at and see if we want to adjust any metrics for the next quarter.
End of year 24.
No. Well, end of this year, after we've had this full 23, we'll have a full year under our belt. This is what we did this year. We can get that, gives them 3 months if we want to make any adjustments on evaluation before the March meeting.
And I would suggest, with the items that are unfinished, you get to 100%, come up with an estimate of the cost of each one of those to accomplish it.
So how about this? How about
we don't need that immediately.
How about there's a few of us and me will sit down, come up with a couple of these ideas, shoot it by the board in October. And if that involves taking a look at it at the end of the year in preparation for March, then that's what it involves. Otherwise, maybe we can have greater clarity rather than putting it back on staff and expecting the staff to come to us with what we should be looking at.
That's fine.
Okay, does that sound good? All right.
Who are the people that are doing
I'll as chair, I think I have prerogative to be able to, so I'll reach out and probably 3 people, 3 board members and do that. I'll keep you involved in that. So
please don't send lots of emails.
No, absolutely. So with that, as we are nearing 5 o'clock, unless you feel real strongly about anything within the staff report, I'm trusting that you take time to read that and digest that. If you do want to talk about something specific, let's pull it out. Randy?
Just one quick thing. I noticed our total abortions have jumped dramatically, it looks like, this year. I mean, it's been doing it all year, but we seem to be continuing to increase.
Yeah, it's been great.
That'll be added to the scorecard.
Well, you know, I remember.
Said that the last meeting, June was the record
Yeah,
for boarding.
yeah.
So, yeah, so you should see a jump in, we're gonna continue on the truck.
Right, well, yeah, we are.
Are there any other things that board members want to discuss about reports?
Motion to adjourn.
We have a second.
We do, I'll give one last opportunity if there's any
I
public
used to be a pit boss for about 10
would
years.
like to make a comment. I don't know that we have any public. Okay, go ahead. Make it as brief as possible, please.
It says 3 minutes, we got 3 minutes.
For a little bit, so want me to, so I'm gonna use it.
And you can, will inform CBC.
Ready, set, go.
Okay. So again, my name is Juanita Rankin. I represent both Joanna and Douglas County. I've got several notes here, all the numbers, all the figures, all the staffing, every time that we get new staff members, we lose regular drivers because they're training. So it's not fair for the public to be counted as, I mean, I was just out there right now making a reservation for tomorrow, and they told me that I'm a no-show. They're gonna say, quit doing this when you're a no-show. And I said, what about the buses that don't pull up here to the public Columbia station half an hour late? Are they no-shows? And what about all the children that are out there needing to use the restroom when the buses may not be here because we're getting, keep our numbers right? I wrote on here, it'd be great as we evolve into the next generation to use what we've got now. Why do we continue to want to get bigger and better? And there's no place on a bus for someone to charge a phone. There's no place on the bus for a driver to, okay, so put something up there in Leavenworth for the driver. What about the mom with the baby that needs to use the bathroom? Maybe we should put a budget out for Depend of different sizes. And this is reality, right, you guys? I mean, here we are. They're out there at 110 degrees. I have people like Roger, who have been here with Lane for several years. He knows. I mean, I was on 2 buses yesterday, no air conditioning. Where's the maintenance on that? Why do we need to spend millions more dollars in the year 2028 when we're here right now in the present? The drivers that are being trained, wonderful, sure. But we're losing the other drivers that are training them. So put that in the statistics. I'm a no-show, really, because I'm at a Link Transit Board of Directors meeting. Right, send me another letter with the 33-cent stamp or whatever they are these days. The shuttle to the, a route to the airport, great. But why don't we just use a little shuttle? I mean, Roger can transport 7, 8 people in one of those safely. It's not all electric. Why don't we go solar and not diesel? We're in a desert. People are complaining about the heat. So we're living in a desert, you guys. As far as the cameras, right here is a thumb drive representing my items being stolen here at Columbia Station. We've got vision, we've got photo, we've got faces. What is that going to do for the police department 4 months later?
Ma'am, you're gonna have to wrap up. We're at 3 minutes.
Are we at 3? So anyway.
Thank you for your comments. We appreciate it. All right, with that, this meeting is adjourned.
Long hair, Mr. Chance.